Hi friends, welcome back. So Jerome Powell just went on 60 Minutes to give an interview, and to be really frank, I was actually surprised to see him on there. This signals to me that he's getting a lot of public pressure and felt the need to essentially address the American people. The basic gist of it is the average American may not necessarily understand everything that's going on, but they certainly understand interest rates. If mortgages are high, credit cards are high, auto loans, etc. Right? They can get that part. But then, from their point of view, they'd be like, hey, dude, when you cutting rates, you got pressure from Wall Street. Hey, when you cutting rates, these kind of things. The basic gist of the interview was, March is not going to be happening for rate cuts. Stop asking. I do, however, want to go over some particular things that I think are really interesting. So let me pull up the first one. This is a question from the interviewer, Pelly. He asks, we're not going to see bank failures across the country as we did in 2008. And this was Powell's response. I don't think there's much risk of repeat of 2008. I also think we need to be careful about making proclamations about the particularly about the future. Things have surprised us a lot. Not great to be surprised in this kind of situation, I'm sure you guys know. But no, on this, I do think it's a manageable problem. I think we're doing a lot to manage it. There will be some banks that have to be closed or merged out of existence because of this. That'll be smaller banks, I suspect, for the most part. These are losses. It's a secular change in the use of downtown real estate. And the result will be losses for the owners and the lenders, but it should be manageable. I want to mention this because we've talked about this several times on the channel. So the Fed is even acknowledging that this is a thing. You guys know commercial real estate is underwater, and we have a change in dynamics of where people are living and working. It's hard to avoid, to be really frank. So this is the Fed's own word saying, hey, some banks, this is the quote here, some banks have to be closed or merged out of existence because of this. He was also asked about China. You can see here, one of China's largest real estate developers just went bust, and I wonder how you see the Chinese economy. And this is regarding the Evergrande situation, which we talk about a lot. And he doesn't actually comment on this stuff that much. That's why it's interesting to look at it. This is Powell's response. Chinese economy's meeting some challenges now, obviously, and growth has slowed. They've gotten away from a market-led growth model. It's more about the state-owned enterprise now, and it's still too much associated with real estate investment and things like that. And you're seeing issues around commercial real estate there. So the question is, how much does that matter for the United States? We have our economic relations with China are important, but they mostly consist of our, buying Chinese manufactured product. So our financial system is not deeply intertwined with theirs. Yeah, let me finish. I have things to say about this, so I guess I should finish it. Our economic, our production systems are not deeply intertwined with theirs. So as long as that happens in China, it doesn't lead to significant disruptions in the economy or financial system, then the implications for the United States, we may feel them a bit, but they shouldn't be that large. So this was an interesting one because he's really trying to downplay the Chinese situation. I'm more on the alarm bell side, mostly because, guys, I live in Korea, so we're just a stone throw from there. And we hear a little bit more news than what you guys would hear. Moreover, I always tell you the same thing about the Chinese situation is when you're not hearing news from China, don't necessarily take it as good news. Take it as that just we haven't heard of it yet, another collapse. The latest updates that we've been talking about on this channel before is that recently the government in China took a bunch of rural banks and started merging them together. And these rural banks had a whole bunch of bad loans on the books. As I mentioned before, the bad loans don't go away. You just repackage it and hope that nobody notices. The other thing too that's going on in China is there's been a major sell-off in the stock market. People are worried. And you could also say they're over-leveraged. The other issue as well, which oftentimes if you haven't been there, you just wouldn't know, is like, okay, so if you're a Chinese person, where do you put your money? Now, if you don't trust the markets, right? And this is real, and you could talk about the USA as well, but more so in China even, corruption is a massive problem. So if you don't trust the books coming out of Chinese companies, you don't trust what CEOs say, like this corruption, it's hard to invest in say the market. So then you're thinking, okay, If I want to grow my money, what do I do? It's hard to trust the Chinese banks as well. Some people lose all of their money. The regulations are really different over there, and the protections are really different. Guys, I was there, I can tell you. And so then that's why sort of real estate has always been a safe haven for a long time. But they've been in a bubble, talking about the Chinese situation. And so it's sort of like, think of the real estate situation as like, well, I don't trust anything else, but I know I can live in my house, or I know that someone's going to need a house, etc. However, now we're facing population decline in China, so you guys can do the math on that. So you have unfinished buildings and not enough people to populate said things, plus not enough money to finish said building. So Powell's trying to kind of downplay it, but I think it's a much bigger than what they're saying. But he's not like lying per se, just trying to ease the way that people are feeling. There was another thing too, which I wanted to mention too, which I thought was really interesting. He talks about, okay, big picture, what would you say is the greatest threat to the world economy? This is what Powell said. I think in the term, I would point to geopolitical risks. So the global economy is broadly healing from the pandemic now, and all over the world, you're seeing inflation come down. But the thing that people are focused on is just the enormous, there's a war going on in Ukraine, and there's a war going on in the Middle East, and there's trouble potential in Asia. I'm pointing this stuff out to you because sometimes everyone blames everything on the Fed, right? And I want to make this really clear. It's not all the Fed's fault. It's not all Biden's fault. It's not all Trump's fault. Like the world is a really big place. And one of the things that I don't like, and this is just how it is, like oftentimes people like to find a scapegoat. That's just kind of your natural human psychology. You're looking for someone to blame. You're looking for someone, to punch. Like, oh, it's the illegals coming across the border. Oh no, it's Powell doing this. Oh no, it's Biden doing that. Oh, it's Trump doing that. Oh, it's China. Like it's a combination of many things. And even here we're talking about, Ukraine, Middle East, problems in Asia. And I know that the world is a complicated place. So guys, I really know. We talk about this stuff all the time, and I just kind of want to have these chats with you because I how can I say, I hope we can try to keep things sane and also keep you informed. I just had a chat with my brother yesterday, and it's funny because I I told my wife this, and he doesn't want to watch my videos. It doesn't matter, but whenever I talk to him, I always think that he sort of represents the average person and sort of what average people think. And so, from the average person's point of view, they understand that prices are too expensive. Like they get that. They can see that housing prices are high. They can see that their credit card bills are ludicrous, right? These kind of things they understand. But the thing is that I kind of wanted to help you go beyond that to where understand that this is a much bigger picture. And, just to benefit you alone may not necessarily be good for the entire system. So simple example, if I, ran for office and I said, everyone, if you vote for me, I'm going to give you a stimulus check, right? Vote for me. Everyone gets $20,000 or $40,000 or whatever. Everyone gets a free house, right? Well, whatever that is. The problem though is that it's unsustainable. And I think that is a big sort of theme that is, how can I say, under talked about. And this is part of just sort of the world that we live in with modern economic theory. Essentially is we can print money whenever we want. Basically, you guys know this stuff. We can also burn money whenever we want. Whether or not you think Powell is political, that is up to you. I would say that at least the positive thing is at least we do have access to the person. You live in other places, let's use China as an example, they just close the door, they have some sort of meeting, you have no idea what's going inside, they open the door and say, ha, this is what we're doing. So, in that regard, even though I am, how can I say, I would prefer that Powell be completely neutral, stay out of politics, etc., not do these kind of things to, talk about the stuff, because in fact, he addresses the political element. I'll give you an example here. There was one part of the interview that really thought was fascinating. It was talking about the debt. So right here. So the question was, how do you assess the national debt? And this was Powell's answer. We mostly try, this is again from Powell, we mostly try very hard not to comment on fiscal policy and instruct Congress on how to do their job when actually they have oversight over us. So national debt doesn't play a big role in our thinking, doesn't play any role actually in our thinking. When Congress does deficit spending, that can be stimulative, that goes into our models, but we don't. It's not our role to be the judge of fiscal policy in any way. He continues, but is the national debt, is a question, but is the national debt a danger to the economy in your review? You are the country's central banker. Powell says, so I would say this. In the long run, the U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path, says it twice. And that just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy. So it is unsustainable 3 times. I don't think that's at all controversial. And I think we need to know we have to go back to a sustainable fiscal path. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about so much on the channel. I show you guys the national debt. I talk about our spending. It's unsustainable. Powell's saying it also. And what is sad, this is just sad, in our current politics, it doesn't matter the party, neither party will come out and say these kind of things, right? Essentially, our politics is, hey, vote for me, and I will spend more money in your area of interest, and your life will be better. Vote for me, and I will, spend more money to, give you whatever funding you want for your thing. Vote for me. I will spend more money to prop up whatever thing that you want. And it's going to be different depending on, which party you're interested in. For some people, it's like, hey, vote for me. I will spend a whole bunch of money on building a wall. Vote for me. I'll spend a whole bunch of money on bombing more countries. Vote for me. I'll spend a whole bunch of money on developing, tax credits for EVs or whatever. And I think the more, and I'm kind of lamenting here a bit, I think the more prudent thing to say is just to be honest with people and say, hey, it's the same thing that Powell says, and I say all the time. It's just unsustainable. Our system is unsustainable right now, and how much longer can this go on? Who knows? But my opinion, like this pressure that Powell's feeling to cut rates, unfortunately, is very real. He's facing it from all sides. In my personal opinion, if because kind of the whole interview and the whole premise of the interview was like, hey guys, everything's fine, we're gonna do great, economy's great, etc. If that were the case, then keep interest rates steady. There's no necessary reason that we need to be cutting, and because the basic gist of it is, if there is indeed, according to Powell, if there is indeed job growth, and if indeed things are going fine, don't cut. Keep it elevated. Keep keep prices under control, and try to bring inflation down. Because the issue is that if you cut too soon, prices can skyrocket again. It's a real thing. You start giving everyone money again and start printing that sweet cash. It's unsustainable. So anyway, I just wanted to share these thoughts with you. I get frustrated with the sort of our current debate that we have in the world, and I do appreciate open conversation about these things. Love to hear your thoughts on anything that Powell said. And what are your thoughts about the sustainability and where rates should go from here? So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next video.